to the national webinar organized by National Atlas and Thematic Mapping Organization to discuss on the gender parity in India. This is the 18th event of the year-long celebration of 75th year of Indian independence. Before proceeding to the event, I would request all the participants to mute their audio to avoid any interruptions. Gender parity is very much important for the policy makers and researchers as it is an important tool to formulate plans for gender progress. Gender parity helps us understand relative equality between men and women. Recently, gender parity, gender equality are given stress to reduce the gender gap in India. Now, I cordially request our respected director, Madam Dr. Taupati Banerjee, to share her views with us. Please, ma'am.
नमस्कार मैम, नमस्कार शिवा मैम।
नमस्कार, कैसे हैं आप?
ठीक, बिल्कुल एकदम ठीक।
Okay. It is so nice, to meet you here like this. And I'm highly obliged that you invited me also to speak about something which I think so we both adhere to, which we both want to also bring the change. Thank you. I'm highly obliged, ma'am.
So thank you, ma'am. So good morning, namaskar to all of you present over here in this webinar. I heartily welcome all the members present over here in this virtual platform. And I welcome to all the members of NATMO as well as the members outside NATMO who are interested to listen the discussion with the special topics. And as you know, geography, it covers all the aspects below the surface, over the surface, and above the surface. So as it points every location, every locational extent, and related features, all related things with the geography. So under this webinar series, what NATMO is organizing now to commemorate 75 years of independence, it covers all aspects of geographical sciences that NATMO is related with or adhered with. So today, in this 18th webinar series, I welcome our special guest, Dr. Seema Parihar, who is closely attached with NATMO. And as we have seen in our, I think most of the members have seen that Seema Madam, how she is related with NATMO. And not only that, we are jointly conducting one project on Women Empowerment Atlas, where she is one of the PI of that project. And we are working already. She is having a vast experience on working on the gender atlas. She has completed that project. I have seen that project and that atlas, where with lots of data is there with that visual presentation over there. And with her concept of that atlas, we are so charmed, and we have again taken that one more project, and we are working in this project, and many of the members are engaged in that project also, which is going to finalize very soon. So and that there we have seen that how gender parity is prevailing in India. I think last week we have also most of the members, I hope they have seen that regarding the gender parity and some measures the government is taking, especially in case of Northwest India and Haryana, Punjab, etc. So I think Seema Madam will enrich us in this area, how gender parity is prevailing, what are the measures can be taken. So I request Shreya Bhattacharya, please Shreya, you invite our special guest. And not only that, Seema Madam is involved, she is a figure, worldwide figure. Now she is engaged in that university, Kirori Mal College of Delhi University, although she is officially engaged in there, but she is also engaged in that international universities where she educates the students of geography and other related subject matters, subjects. And so we will listen from her, and I request Shreya to invite Shima ma'am to deliver her valuable lecture. With this, I thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening us. We are very happy to have with us our speaker of the day, Professor Dr. Seema Mehra Parihar, Department of Geography, Kirori Mal College, University of Delhi. She has more than 33 years of experience in academics in the specific area of GIS, remote sensing, natural resource management, gender, and field-based research. She was recently awarded IIRS ISRO Annual Award 2018 during IIRS Academia Meet 2019. She has also been awarded Bhu Samman by Bhu Vikas Foundation in Hyderabad. Welcome, ma'am. We are eagerly waiting to hear from you. The topic you have chosen, gender parity in India, empowering mantra for taking society forward. Please, ma'am.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Tapti ma'am. I thought that this was a topic because, you know, with you at the helm of affairs, I think so we can actually make a difference also. Ma'am, will you be recording this? I want it to be recorded so that we can just, you know. Hello, ma'am, will it be recorded?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, it is being recorded.
All right. So now, like, you know, so let me share my screen. But before that, in a face-to-face, I want to thank you, Dr. Tapti Banerjee, for enhancing my faith that women empowerment is doable. Gender parity is possible. Looking at, you know, your NATMO space where there are more women than men. I'm not saying that we are asking anything more than that. I'll come to my topic. We both always are talking about one thing. We want gender parity, 50-50. Neither we are wanting that to be more, nor we are wanting this to be more. But sometimes to maximize the data, it would be always nice that we have somewhere some data to be little skewed up and somewhere some data to be balanced. So now with your permission, ma'am, I want to share my screen. Can you see this?
Yes, ma'am. We can see
All
your
right. Okay.
slides. Yeah.
So young boys and girls and women and men, and all of you, the ones who are present here, I welcome you all with the person who is a leader, who is at the helm of affair, a decision maker also being women, so that to get into your thought process, gender parity in India, empowering mantra for taking society forward. And that something is my whole aim. And I would like you all to join hands in it, because together only we all can take this forward. At the outset, I wish to acknowledge present webinar. And I'm very happy that the background of the poster you made was brown, so that we are connected with the earth. And that's something which is there. I wish to acknowledge that too. Anjana ma'am, and all of you, the ones who are here. And so now this is something that brought me to the realm of women, gender, and gender concerns. There are two atlases which I've already made, which ma'am also was mentioning, for Ministry of Women and Child, Government of India. That gave me a reality check. Do we actually need parity? Or it's always there? Or as a country, we have to do something more than that. In addition to that, with NATMO, recently I've got another project which I am collaborating with you all, and that is Women Empowerment Atlas of India Science and Technology Perspective. But the reason behind me to get into this was a UGC program, capacity building for women managers in higher education, and my mentors, the ones who told me that, Seema, there is a difference, and this women issue need little more push. And sometimes, why I'm putting all these papers here? For a simple reason, and one message to each one of us: please appreciate the ones who are doing well. This appreciation takes you in a wrong, takes you a long way. Now, in case if you have a look, up in the corner is a UN Women recent workshop on respect that I attended, and I felt that, yes, we all need to join hands and we all need to do little more. I also met these lovely girls, if you see in the bottom, those girls who are studying in school from Kashmir. They also have bigger dreams. So whenever we are doing anything, we have to take together the whole society. We have to take together the whole environment so that we all can go ahead and take this journey forward. My assumption for today's presentation is, one, gender parity in India is an empowering mantra for taking society forward. And gendered spaces are but largely fragmented and fractured in the contemporary world and contemporary India. So we all need to join hands to heal and build all inclusive gendered spaces amidst a strong belief that gender equality is achievable. It's something, such a very strong belief, which we should all have it. Number two, gender identity is expansive yet misunderstood. Why is it so misunderstood? And why social, political, and economic development today cannot ignore women workforce? Or are we ignoring it? Mainstreaming gender cannot avoid the question of gender conflict, and we need to design special program towards it to remove those gender conflicts so that each one of us, the ones who are listening to this, become healers and we find ways to bring gender parity. So, and another key question is, can SDG 5 pave way as a catalyst in its implementation decade amidst multiple waves of COVID pandemic? So for me, the key word today of my discussion is only one, and that is gender parity. What is gender parity? Gender parity is a numerical concept related to gender equality. Gender parity concerns relative equality in terms of numbers, proportions of men and women, girls and boys, and is often the ratio of female to male values for given indicator. In the context of gender equality, gender parity refers to the equal contribution of women and men to every dimension of life, whether private or public. I am highlighting equal contribution, and you all know what equal contribution means. Equal opportunities for women and men, equal treatment of women and men, and of course, a gender balance is the ultimate thing that I want to create. And why am I talking this today? Because even our Prime Minister, is the one who is all for this. On the occasion of National Child Day, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji stressed the need to fight discrimination against girls, child, and ensure gender equality. And further, in case if I go, in charting New India's growth story, Prime Minister Modi has emphasized through his action that India is transitioning from women development to women-led development. In this grand vision, women have been reimagined as architects of India's progress and development rather than being passive recipients of the fruits of development. And that is the reason why we all are sitting here together. And the speaker is women, organizer is women, and the one who checked up with me, Anjana and Ms. Sain, are also women. So let's take this journey forward. Are we actually there? Or we need something else? Another reason why I thought of picking up this topic was because just last month, or in June 2021, we got statement on gender equality. For me, the statement is something that is also showcasing me. Let's go ahead, let's join hands. There's still a need. And of course, we all realize that in COVID-19 has caused a health crisis for billions around the world, and especially women. And as I always say, for women, this period is pandemic within pandemic. And that's something like, which for me is of large importance. As leaders representing leading economic institutions, there is an urgent message. There is an urgent message. That is to rebuild our global economy and improve the lives of all people. Governments must prioritize gender equality in their economic recovery strategies. In particular, we must put in place childcare policies that better support both genders and ensure women do not disappear from workplaces. And that is so important. And this recent policy is also saying the same. Then what is going wrong where? And as it says, government must ensure that money stimulus efforts and social protection schemes get directly into the hands of women. We are moving towards it, but my point is, are we doing enough? Second, countries must close gender data gaps and strengthen monitoring, evaluation, and data systems to support more effective public policy. But my question again is, are we doing enough? Do we have enough gender disaggregated data? In my two earlier atlases, I've put 188 plus gender disaggregated data. And I think so, Dr. Tapti and myself and Sonali, Anjana, and all those are ones who are involved in this, realize that how difficult it is to get data on gender. Even for my other project of WHO, we are collecting data by giving the work to the call center and to other 181, the ones who are helping us with that phone number, so that, you know, we all can get data. It is so difficult. And even if you have data, people are not wanting to recognize that that is a true data. We definitely need to work towards it. And NATMO, I'm very happy that NATMO is working towards it. Third is that government must reduce the burden of unpaid care work and support better child care and strengthen women labor force participation. But is it happening? That's something which we'll, just as we move forward, we'll try to open or unveil that information. We have, and I like to emphasize on this thing, we have no time to waste what this statement says. And that is a reality. The risks of inaction cannot be overstated. Refusing to economically support women and girls will not just set this recovery back, it will leave our economies more vulnerable to future shocks. We all, in case if I ask you to just simply visualize that picture of migrant laborers, or I'll call it reverse migration that took place, we have seen women walking without their chappals, with a child in their hand, and I do not know how fast or how difficult it would be to take forward that mechanism when somewhere along the line they were happy in their happy homes which they had created in the cities, and their children were going to schools. So we have to promise ourselves that we have to take this forward. But agree to the promises, agree to all these good words. Let us look into this again recent gender gap report, which was just there just 2 months back in March 2021 by World Economic Forum. And this says the gender gap in India has widened to 62.5%. Largely due to women's inadequate representation in politics, technical and leadership roles. Decrease in women's labor force participation rate, poor healthcare, lagging female to male literacy ratio, income inequality. I'm not saying gender gap report is saying it. Should we agree to global report or should we not agree to that? Is a different issue. Should we have our own reports? Should we map them? But definitely, this is telling us that stop and look and do something more. These two on a comparative figure, 2006 and 2021 rank. India has slipped further down. That is what is worrisome. India has slipped 28 places in the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report and is now one of the most performers in South Asia. It is now ranked 140th among 156 nations. in global gender gap index, economic participation and opportunity, educational attainment, health and survival, political empowerment. This pink is the one that's increasing. I am at no point of time telling you to agree to this, but definitely telling you to change this so that tomorrow, in case if this would be the case, we should definitely be in the top spots. Let's meet these top spots. The most gender equal country in the world is Iceland, and it has been in the first position for 12 years. Finland is second and Norway the third. Let's look more deeper into these countries. What is going right there, that there at least, we can say that you have gender parity. According to this 21 report, New Zealand is the close fourth, followed by Sweden, Lithuania, Serbia, Timor-Leste, Togo, and the United Arab Emirates have all improved the most of the overall index. So that means we have cases which we can visit, from which we can learn, and we can bring that knowledge to our own country. And do you know, data has also told us that wherever you had women decision makers at the top, there you had less COVID cases. So let's strive towards it. Definitely. What does this mean for India? The pandemic has, of course, we know that. The pandemic has only slowed down in its track the progress India was making towards achieving gender parity. Today, there is a need to focus little more on health and survival infrastructure. Why am I saying that? Do you know that, we had, from the India's context, we had around 81% women who were the ones who were working. The data range from different places, 70 to 80% women workers in the health infrastructure level where they were women. But the decision makers were between the range of 3% to 7%. Do you know something? Originally, when the PPE kits were designed, they were not designed for women because somewhere along the line that never came into their heads that women also would be there. We have to change that mindset. And what is the story? Like, we all have heard, in our own times that women have to break the glass ceiling. Even the ones who are slightly more that, women have to break the glass ceiling. What does it mean? Why am I showing you this data? Just to tell you that we are better than many countries also. We need % of women in companies' board of directors, and that's something which is so very important. But does the gender parity exist? Research is telling us that the women who are at the top, in those top 100 companies, women would be more educated. Women would be having a great CV to reach that place than men. There also the parity doesn't exist. Even developed countries are not ready for it. Next slide is going to tell us this. Percentage of women in companies' board of directors, over 1/10. There are only very few. And India, you can see 13.8%. Only Austria, Ireland, Portugal, Slovak Republic, Colombia, Hungary, Czech Republic, Lithuania, and India, 13.8%. There are many countries where you have less than us in the company's board of directors. So we are moving on the right path. But somewhere along the line, our country is so diverse that we are finding at times difficult to be everywhere showing something which is closer to our heart, that is gender parity. Turkey, Luxembourg, Greece, China, Brazil, Chile, Mexico, Estonia, Russian Federation, Japan, Indonesia, Korea, even Japan for that matter, are having less than percentage of women in the company's board of directors. That's a good story. And I think so we all need to celebrate and we all need to take it forward from there. And of course, we all know that we need different schemes that can help it close this gap. Today, initially, I thought I'll come out with schemes, and I thought you're a government organization and you all are knowing the schemes. We will have some other seminar on these schemes. I've also mapped those schemes also, but like Beti Bachao, Ujjwala scheme, One-Stop Center scheme, and Sukanya Smriti. And One-Stop Center, now I'm working with these in a much more closer way. There are schemes which are there. But again, are we implementing those schemes is a big question mark. We can have 5-day seminar on the number of schemes that we have. But It's very nice that we have them. Even our constitution is stating that. But the question is, are we joining hands or are we having a will to implement them also or not? So what we need to do now? We are aware there should be programs, we have problems, and we need to do something. We need to change our lens. We need to change our lens by which we see. If we all are the ones who are studying remote sensing, we have to change that sensor in a high resolution format. We need to redefine gendered spaces. We need to redefine and look people, places, interactions, and interrelationships, processes that results in interactions, emerging patterns, homogeneous and heterogeneous, in such a way that we all feel that we are seeing equality, equity, and equanimity. Gender really matters in our every action. But of course, this, and why I'm telling you this, as a country, we are better than many. If you belong to those feminist wave narratives, if you know it, first wave, second wave, third wave, and now we have the fourth wave of the feminist narrative, we are there. Like, you know, we have some people in the fourth wave narratives, we have some people in the third wave, some in the second, and some in the first. So there's a transition model which will work for our country. And, you know, women and girls represent 55% of the estimated 20.9 million victims of forced labor worldwide, and 98% of the estimated 4.5 million forced into sexual exploitation. Do you know which industry has grown in a mega way during this COVID pandemic? It is a virtual pornography racket. It's become a more than $1 billion racket. And where the small girls are getting vulnerable and marginalized, we definitely have to get together and move towards solving this issue. UN report, and this data stays, you can have one person here and there. Women perform 66% of the world's work, produce 50% of the food, but earn 10% of the income and own only 1% of the property. And in India, of course, we know we have right laws and all that, but we have our customs and tradition, so that many women, they give up on their property because there are so many rituals which are attached to it. अगर मैंने भाई पर लड़ाई कर ली तो मेरी बेटी को चूड़ा मामा क्यों चढ़ाएगा? मेरे को मेरी बेटी के लिए चूड़ा चढ़ाना है. And that's a very important custom ritual where you want your brother, both of you to be in a win-win situation. So the property is something like, you know, which we all have to find it. Whether it's right or wrong, it's again a matter of a larger debate. You know, even today in the world, more than 150 countries have at least one law discriminating against women, only 150. 59 countries have no law against sexual harassment at work. 46 countries have no legal protection against domestic violence. 32 countries have different ways of applying for passport by men and women. Have you ever heard of this? 18 countries, women cannot get jobs if their husbands feel it is not in the family's interest. Only 9 countries have laws where at least one woman has to be a board member of a publicly listed company. So we've just seen the anomaly in the corporate world also. I can go on and on with the data. So what I'm trying to say is that we should not feel sorry, that we should feel very happy that we are still in a place where we are all looking for things and we are finding ways that we are better than many. But yes, we are not in that cream situation also. And so, like, you know, so we've got a minimum age. You are seeing, I'm not asking you to see anything. I'm only asking you to see so that these all are fractured. You can see different shades there. That means there exist anomalies. But those are all fractured maps which are there. And I'm definitely thankful to Sonali for putting them together for our project intervention. But to me, the strong question that I want to show in that unfractured, the way the world is, do we actually understand the meaning of gender? Yes, no, maybe, not interested. Let's just spend little next 5 minutes in understanding the word called gender. The term gender has a long history and a range of meaning. The root of the word can be traced to Latin word genus, meaning type, kind, and sort. It's also connected to the Greek root gen, meaning to produce. In somewhere along the line, in popular parlance, the term gender and sex are often equated. But although biology or sex might form the basis of gender, gender is quite different from sex, and this is something which we need to understand. Even, when we collect data, we all are still a confused body. Somewhere we collect data in the form of man, women, sometime male, female, sometime girl, boy, and we have different, even at the government place, we've got the data followed in different these norms. And we know that in case if we are working with the geospatial domain, what we are actually wanting is that we are wanting interoperability. Are we ready for it in the social space is a big question mark. Gender is simply a social construct. Gender refers to how society set the behavioral, social, and cultural rules for being a man or woman. And of course, Simone de Beauvoir has rightly said one is not born, but rather becomes a woman. All those the ones who are like, I always say, fathers with daughters behave in a different way than mothers, than fathers with only sons, or with loving sister around. So it's a gender. Sometimes a man may be more gendered than women itself. Do you know? And NFHS data states that women prefer sons more than men. That means mothers prefer sons more than fathers, their preference for having a son. So this view largely emphasizes that gender is more a result of culture than nature, the differences between men and women being socially constructed. And that's something which we need to do it. And of course, there are different gender identities. Today, we have around a lot of gender identities which we want to recognize or we don't want to recognize as a country is something, let's see for how long. Do you know Columbia University, there are 24 sexual identities which people have it on the form. And in our country, it's only that, to have other also in the Delhi University form, we had problems. So we have to look at gender in different ways, not only with the binary lens, in the other way. So gender identity, gender expression, biological sex, sexual orientation is something are all different. But sometimes, in the discussion, in the parlance, we all get confused and we all get carried away with all this. So we need to expand that. And that's something which is so very important. So status globally. Sometimes until the 70s, all across, what we found was that terms such as mankind or human were widely used, and assuming that include women as well. But is it the case? The masculinity implicit in these and in other contents of geography has thankfully been challenged. Today, mankind is having missing women. Human, Human, you're not having it. So it stays in the mind also. Language and gender, this is interesting. That's something like, so we have to pick up these words. Somewhere along the line, you all know that we talk about topology, we all talk of toponymy, we all talk of new words, we all talking, in the new parlance when we are collecting data. I think so. These are something, which are there, which the word linga, part of the vernacular Hindu, which originated in the classic Sanskrit language, is one such term which requires a qualifying prefix, right? Male, pulling, female is thrilling. Prakritic linga. So linga is the one that, you find that that's one word, which is like, which is not getting sidetracked by giving highlight to one gender or the other. At the same time, sometimes it happens that we misuse the word gender only to prove a point. When I say misuse, for a single reason, today there are two things which are gender ratios as opposed to sex ratios. What are we wanting? We have to get deeper into it. We have to find out that how every word that we use in our parlance, in our everyday habit, at home, in society, it should be a gender neutral word with a gender neutral identity too. Gender is a social construct now we have understood. We've also understood that gender encodings, behavioral norms for women and men vary from space and time. Today, many women and men do things which were not socially acceptable till recently. Again, not everywhere are these social norms the same for all women. Then besides this, the presence of differentiated gendered spaces or places across India has been talked about in a lot of academic literature, a lot of books today you have. But at the same time, recent development reports in India have brought out spatial location in which women live makes a difference, women life makes a difference, as basic as a well-being indicator. Do you know that women in Kerala can expect to live longer by a margin of 18 years as compared to women in Madhya Pradesh, despite little difference in per capita income between the two states? So we need to probe such things. Kerala versus Madhya Pradesh, UP versus West Bengal, or Calcutta versus a place in somewhere, a neighborhood. We find similar, homogeneous, and heterogeneous patterns at the same time within the spaces which are closer to us. Let's work on that and give code to them. Public and private spaces is, of course, another thing which we have to probe further. And we see that gender parity is not there. Domesticity of women, recently we had report about that also. People speak about that, that in the private spaces, women are much safer than the public spaces. We'll just look closely into the data and we'll find out. Is it true? For many poor women in rural India, boundaries between the public and private spaces are often blurred. Agriculture work is carried out within home premises and as women take their children along to the fields. Similarly, in some urban locations, a public street essentially dominated by the presence of men in the mornings may turn into a semi-private space or snug winter afternoons for women in the neighborhood. But the point is, are these spaces safe? Affluent class scholars have worked on that. But some have worked with sensitivity and some have worked without sensitivity. And all these processes of going deeper into that, why I showed you that there exists a literature. Despite the existence of the literature, despite people working in small case studies, why at pan-India level, we are not able to make a larger impact that my recent gender gap report is giving me or showcasing me a different data. And these processes result in wide-ranging discussions on how knowledge is situated, produced, and valued, and how locally relevant research has to be acknowledged. My request to each one of you is create positive researches, create positive data. And we need to definitely blur boundaries between space and place while doing gender. So that means we need a new framework. We need to we need to have that framework where you can say that the epistemological tensions or boundaries between what constitutes space that is non-real and place, they become increasingly blurred. And in case if we have to look at it, what we find is that the gender realms are the ones, the way we act in them. We need to reenact them. We need to constitute them and reconstitute them in mediation with specific spatial context. Somewhere this may be right, somewhere this may be not right. We all know that patriarchy also exists in India, and you also have some places where you have matriarchal societies. Of course, I'm very happy that Indian geographers have started engaging with gender issues and a growing body of writings on gender has been produced. But again, even in the university where I teach undergraduations, we don't have any gender geography as a paper also. It's at the research level. We have to get into the people's head, in everybody's head. Again, that debate between qualitative data and a quantitative data, which is better? Sometimes this research is the one which may be needing qualitative data, but then the scientific community will ask me a question. Is it a real data? Is it true data? Or we are creating a bias in that? That's something which we definitely need to think about it. In 1970s, behavioral approach came. 1960s was quantitative approach. People realized that only quantitative data is not enough. Then came the behavioral approach. And today we are talking about the postmodernism and then in the next framework. Of course, we need different themes which we need to work on. We need to have, like, in this thing, we need to work on theoretical concerns and patriarchy, gender and space, natural landscape, gender constructs, reproduction, domestic and public spaces, women's safety and violence, women empowerment and gender mainstream. I can go on and on. In my earlier atlas, I made these 7 themes, and as I said, 188 gender disaggregated data was there. And today we are going further deeper into that, and we are creating a scenario where we want to find out the processes which lead to women empowerment. And that's something, with the help with the discussions and a lot of our workshops, online workshops, and small hit that we've got is that Corona came, so we could not visit these places. But again, nevertheless, themes are there. We all have to get together and agree to a fact that we need it. We are changing the higher education scenario also there. Today, technology also exists if you have a look at it. These are again the part of this thing which is there. So data is changing, data is increasing. We have technology which is showing me that gender parity index is improving. Gross enrollment ratio also, in case if you have a look at it, that graph is going up. But if that is going up, then what is going wrong where? Why am I saying that even in India, during COVID, for women, it was pandemic within pandemic? This I'm telling you with the data which I've collected with war institutions, where the number of cases have increased. And we all know that not all cases are reported in India. Then data can go. We can go on and on. Of course, after our project getting over, we'll be showing you more. But the point out here is, are we ready to heal these fractured spaces? We are improving. We are working towards it. We are talking about it. We are hugging our daughters. But again, the question is, are we ready to heal these fractured spaces? Let's now look at the other scenario. This is what it is. Offenders' relationship with women's spatial insights from India. This is like, I'm just giving you from another presentation where we see 1 in 3 women, they experience physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. That means the ones who are sitting just now with you, every third woman, in case if there's there, would have gone through one or the other form of violence. So either it could be physical violence or a sexual violence. 1 in 3 women are getting it. So proportion of these women and girls aged 15 years and older subjected to sexual violence by persons other than an intimate partner in the previous 12 months by age and place of occurrence is something like, which is so sad. And again, it's not that we've got a famous case of Alabama girl which was raped by father and aborted child multiple times. But my question is, if we are seeing all this, are we doing something about it? Earlier we said that government has to do this, government has to do this, but we have seen that we have schemes. We have our Prime Minister who is showing with the intent. Our Finance Minister is women. Is showcasing. So this is something which is there. Now, this is the one, in case if you have a look at it, the earlier one. Here we these cases. I don't want to get into this case, this case, this case. I just put them together. Are these silent voices or they are heard voices only on the day a particular channel wants to have high TRP, or it's something else? That's something what my question is. These are all real pictures from our country. I have a lot of documentaries also to share, but I'm not sharing. But are these making documentaries, are they enough, or it's something else? It's something else there. Now let's look into some data insights closely. In case if you look at this data, which is again a closer one at the data present, the missing data from NFHS 2019-20. Till now, we only have data from 22 states. If I go with this data, is the change happening? That's again something like, which we need to work on. This is the government data. Everyone is aware about it. If you have a look at it, what will you find? You'll again find that this is a map that I'm showing you of the spousal violence experienced by ever married women. So in case if you have a look at it, yes, all these shades are there. I'm not having where the data was available that the shade is not there. Even for me, one case of spousal violence or any violence is a bad thing, is a no. I'm not thinking of parity at all. But the good news is, if you look below in that graph, that there are some states which are improving. Right? So that is something which we need to celebrate. That there are more where the cases are decreasing, and there are more, like there's some where the cases are improving. I'm not here to name that state even. It's all there in front of you. Let's work towards it. Sexual violence experienced by young women. Again, in all those 22 states where I've got this 2019-20 or the latest NFHS data, I find that out here, in case if you have a look at it, there are some where it has improved. But of course, I can definitely say where it has decreased, and I want to clap my hands on Tripura, Telangana, Mizoram, Nagaland, Manipur, Lakshadweep, Kerala, Himachal Pradesh, Gujarat, Dadra Nagar Haveli, Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, and Andaman. All of you, the ones who are from there, let's clap hands because it's decreasing. So the story doesn't end there. The story doesn't end there. Even I need to, of course, clap hands for the cases of the other cases of the spousal violence also. Again, Andaman, Andhra, Bihar, Dadra Nagar Haveli, Goa, Gujarat, Kerala, Lakshadweep, Meghalaya, Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, Telangana, and West Bengal improving. Even your state improving. But again, at the same time, why we have these graphs going up in some states? Physical violence is the same story. But again, in some, it's been improved. West Bengal, where we have got a decreased cases of physical violence. Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Gujarat, Jammu and Kashmir, Karnataka, Kerala, Manipur, Nagaland, Mizoram, Andhra, and Bihar. These all states definitely need to have a clap because here the cases are decreasing. But again, this clap also looks horrid. Why do we have a case of violence? That's my question. Where is that parity, what we are talking about? We are giving a respect to each other. So our mantra should be a respect. And what is more serious is offender's relationship with the victim. I'm taking you to a journey with the NCRB data. Again, a data from the government report. Among 38,947 cases, in 36,859 cases, accused were related to victims. Similarly, 630 cases, victims were allegedly raped by grandfather, father, brother, and son. And in 1,087 cases, they were acquaintances. And in other cases, 10,520, it was neighbors. 2,174 cases, the accused were relatives. In 600 cases, employers and co-workers are accused of rape, the report said. Live-in partners, husband and ex-husbands were the ones where 559 cases were the ones which were reported. But my point out here is, we have always nurtured these relations. Was it different or just the data? Number of crimes committed against women have increased by 6% and by 9% compared to 2015. And majority of cases under crimes against women were registered under cruelty by husband or his relatives. Around 1/3 cases were the ones cruelty by husband or his relative. We have such nice custom or tradition of husband where we say husband and wife to get married is such a nice relationship, then why do we get into that? It's the society, or it is something else, or it's the mindset. Assault on women with intent to outrage her modesty, kidnapping and abduction of women, and rape and all that. Why do we have these words in our vocabulary or parlance also? And do you know something? If I just don't want to remember anything, this is something which we all need to be worried about. Less than 2% rape cases are committed by strangers. Only less than 2%. And we always say, let's not send our daughters there, this and that and that. So are we safe? Only 1.5% rape cases were committed by strangers. That's what the NCRB report said. So what is it that we are talking about? Accused was a family, friend, neighbor, or even an employer. So that means we need to make a continuous effort towards it. Yes, we have ICC bodies, we have the right thing at the right place. Just go and check and open the internal complaint cell report. Do we have enough cases which are reported there? So who is wrong? Is that local ICC commission, that small report that is wrong, or NCRB report is giving us a wrong data? This is our country's data. In case if we have a look at it, why this data is also important is that we find that it's not only knowing, despite having, when I said only less than 2%, actually they said 1.5% are the ones who are not known. Further, the worst is that we also have underreported cases. These cases are also not the complete data. Why do we have the underreported? Number of cases filed is already less than the actual crime rate, we are aware. Latest research have confirmed reported to NFHS was 6,590 cases. Officially reported 37.2. So like in case of what we say, even forget about that. Right now, we are not here only onto this discussing, but we are definitely finding it one thing that even in the case of all the cases are not reported, still we are finding data which we are not finding very comfortable with. Of course, when the perpetrator is a husband or any relative, there's even more reluctance due to societal and family pressure. We have a lot of movies on this. Some victims get discouraged by the police at the stage of filing a complaint. There's a considerable percent of cases that are also disposed of by courts without trial, as discussed later. So now, in case if we have a look at it, but so of course, it was very sad data. But why are we having this? What we need to do if we want to bring, if we actually want to work on, and if we actually want to bring, or we want to do something, or we want to create a mark, or like, what you and me can do. Let's not get into the bigger picture. Government is doing their job in a very nice way. As a country, we are on a right track. But why it's not impacting? Because what I find is that individual factors that are there are that, and this was another surprising data. Across all the zones, prevalence of domestic violence was higher among working women compared to homemakers, which was quite contrary to the expected norm. Sometimes we feel if women would be working, she would be earning more, there'll be less cases of domestic violence. But researchers have shown that that is not the case. Again, my question to you is why? The reason could be many. These are few of the reasons which are there. We all can get into individual research and we all can find it. Low self-esteem, low income, aggression or delinquent behavior as a youth, heavy alcohol and drug use, lack of non-violent and social problem-solving skills, antisocial personality traits and conduct problems, poor behavioral control or impulsiveness. This I'm talking about a society which is a patriarchal-driven society, and I am at no time saying that men are not under pressure. When I talk about the parity, both are there. And of course, what we see, we somewhere along the line act like that. And are all insecurities or the ones or the hostility towards women and all that which is just there? How can women earn more than me? If I am not having a job, why is she having a job? Why is her performance better than me? Why are being judgmental? We both are part of one. Our religion, our customs, our tradition, our goddesses have always shown us that path. Why can't we do it? Of course, we've got marital conflict, jealousy, possessiveness, negative emotions, marital instability, dominance and control over the relationship, economics. These are few words which are there in our mind and which have become so much common. Why are we having this? Ultimately, what are we wanting? We are wanting to take our society forward. Enhance and to take our country ahead at the top, especially when we have our age structure of young population, where we both are ready to win that world. But with these small things, we are making our half the population not performing because of those small fights, tensions, or different struggles at home. And if we cannot do it, then we get into a violence which gives us the data that 1 in 3 women either come across a physical violence or a sexual violence or a spousal violence. And of course, there are community level risks factors also which exist. We have to work towards them. We have to work as a society towards them if we are wanting to bring gender parity in the realm of this world, this beautiful world. Poverty and associated factors we have to remove. Because of that, we have overcrowding, high unemployment rate, and so forth. So there's a stress of a different kind, and that has to be vented out. Low social capital and lack of institutions, relationships, and norms that shape a community's social interaction. Even today, even among the educated class, to go to a counselor is a big no-no. We need to work towards that. Poor neighborhood support and cohesion. I was saying in that respect workshop, why cannot we have this RWA also acting as people who are there to support and help? Weak community sanctions against people sometimes in Punjab, in many regions, they say husband nahi to thappad mara hai. We have got movies on thappad also. Husband nahi mare kya ho gaya? Right, so these are the things which we have to work towards it. High density of spaces we have to work. Of course, at the societal level, I will go a step further. That's something which we all do, which again is in your and my hand. And if you'll go home and you'll say that. Traditional gender norms and gender inequality, for example, the idea women should stay at home, not enter the workforce and be submissive. Men should support the family and make the decision. This is our mindset. So we have to change over the mindset. We have to change over these traditional jobs. If we have our agenda quite chalked out, that we are looking at win-win situation in our micro, macro, and meso spaces so that we all can work together. Cultural norms that support aggression towards others are something, again, which are so very predominant. On one hand, we are praying to our goddesses. And, another research has also shown where you have women goddesses, there the violence is less. Where you have, so that's another thing which we need to further. So the topics of research are too many. Societal income inequality is another thing that gives a lot of stress, and we have a weak health, educational, economic, and social policies, which we saw. Like in case if you go with the number of women who have been vaccinated and number of men who are vaccinated in today's time, you find men are more vaccinated. So, and again, the ones who have gone and who got a support in the hospital and all that, again, they've been more men. But again, at the same time, the women who have suffered less because we have inherent value, inherent ways, where we can cope up. So we have to ultimately, I'm going towards it because why I always say that women, this is one flow chart which I thought to end up with. Domestic violence and nutritional status go hand in hand. कहते हैं ना, अगर एक माँ को शिक्षा कर दिया तो सारा घर शिक्षा होगा, सारा घर शिक्षित होगा तो सोसाइटी शिक्षित होगी. That means it's all interrelated. This is a beautiful study by Atreya Sinha and Aprajita Chattopadhyay, which has actually talked, it's again a recent study which has talked about that, how domestic violence and where the child's health and nutrition has suffered, birth weight has suffered, size at the birth has suffered, because of the domestic violence. So what I'm saying is everything is related. Everything is related. Even men would be more happy if the women would be more happy. And that's something which is there. Why do we have? So in the end, I think so I've talked with you enough. I've given you a good side, I've given you a bad side, and I've given you a picture that what we all should definitely strive for. And in our country, which has that particular size of a young population, where we all can come up, climb up, join hands, and strive for the better society, we should also find ways, and we should also imagine a world free of sexual violence on women. Can you even think of it? That 1 in 3 data is something which is very much pinching. I like this recent statement of 8 July that was Justice Asha Menon. She said gender equality is not one for multiplying laws. We don't need more laws. Implementation is what matters. And that's something, which is so much important, is implementation everywhere. Let's not wait for the others to implement. Let's not wait for the others to change. Let's change ourselves. Let's change ourselves. That's something which is very important. And in the end, I only want to say, for a big country like India, for a diverse country like India, कोस पर बदले पानी, चार कोस पे बानी. Local terrain and climate conditions change in every course, and we know it. The dialect spoken changes after every 2 course, and course is an old Indian measure of distance, roughly a little over 2 miles. So my question is, if we have such a diverse country, and where, in case if you remember those graphs, when I showed you with the latest 2021 data of NFHS, the graphs are going down also. Cases of spousal violence, physical violence, and they're going down. We also have there where women are getting, and I also showed you a report of the gender parity when we were looking at that we are among one of those in the top 20 where we have women on the board. We also have cases where we have women, and you have a case like NATMO where your ma'am is women. So if you all can survive and you all can do so much, why can't we have this model everywhere? Let's all strive towards it. Geography, of course, matters in understanding gender. But geography, what I mean is not geography discipline per se, but what I mean is topography. We have to change our mindset. We have to, first of all, each one of us, the one who is listening, we have to change our self-will. And in case of our close one is doing something wrong, we have definitely to check that person right there. And for me, that would make this place such a beautiful space. And we all would be able to take the society forward. We don't need government. We don't need anybody. We don't need a boss to make changes. We all should do it at our home. Come on, grandfather, father, brother, everybody, the one who's close one, is somebody who I live every day. All right, so now I know each one of you is making a promise to yourself that you all are going to bring change, and you all are definitely going to make this place a beautiful space, and you all will work towards it so that we all get forward and we all make a promise. The ones who are from NATMO, make a promise to NATMO ma'am, to your Dr. Tapti Banerjee. We will definitely change our home, at least my neighborhood. We at no point of time will, in case if we have a case where we see even a shade of violence, we will remove it. So let's work towards it, and let us all talk about it. Let's not shy away from the wrongs that are happening around us, but we all can make this world a beautiful place. And I am telling you, looking at the power that we have, looking at the education that we have, looking at my smart, beautiful girls who I have, whichever that we have interacted with, there is a big potential. So let's move ahead and promise and say, we will do it. We will do it, and we will make it happen. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for this excellent presentation, and we absolutely enjoyed it. On a lighter note, I want to share one thing, that one change we can bring very soon. Like this month, we have Rakhi. So we can tie Rakhi not only to our brothers, but also to our sisters. So we can prove that sisters can do Raksha. as well as brothers can. So thank you so much. Now, before proceeding to the interactive session, I'd like to request our director, madam, to share her opinions on this presentation. And all the participants are requested to turn on their video cameras. Please, ma'am.
Really, thank you, Shreya. Really, ma'am, I am really happy for your excellent lecture you have delivered today. You are, of course, you are an excellent speaker also. And really, what you have discussed over here with your long, from your experience, from your deliberation, that really it will take time. It will take time because first of all, we have to, as in your last slide, you have mentioned and you have discussed about it. First of all, we have to change our mindset. That is most important. And in a country like India, where that age-old tradition is going on still today, and social structure is so complex, and this lack of awareness, lack of education, still this reflection, it is now reflected from your idea, from your deliberation. So I believe that it will take time. And especially if we start from our side, those who are every day, who are coming to the office, who are coming out of their, who are going out of their home, although they are doing the service, although they are mixing with the peoples from their office outside the home, still their mindset is not up to that level to change. So first of all, by heart we have to change ourselves, then it is possible. Till today, just imagine, just before that, I just want to share one of my experience. When I was in Delhi, I met one leader who is very close to our family, and he told me that you are here. Can you imagine? You actually, I am little from that my in-laws' house, a little conservative area. They're in conservative area. So he just expressed his view that you are from so conservative area, and your in-laws have allowed you to come out from home to do the service, and that is also sitting in Delhi. Nowadays, that total scenario has been changed. Now that young girls, they are going out, they are working in that different areas, and still, you just imagine, till date, our technologists now, from Indian technologists, they are the chief in Google. But can you show any technology has been evolved to save our girl child, to save any woman? By clicking one button, they can save themselves? No, till date, it has not been evolved. No technologies would be able to evolve such a technologies that can help a child immediately, help a girl, woman immediately to save themselves. So where we are now? Till date, no online FIR system has been developed in all the states of India, where we are actually. So this is a little elaborative, so elaborative. When you will go to for discussion, it will going on. I think there is no end of it. Still, we should try it from our heart. That is the only mantra we should say. So I think some of the questions will invite out of this deliberation. I request Shreya to invite others for.
Can I add here, ma'am, with your permission? You know, like I just want to tell you, can you hear me? I just want to tell you one thing. That is, it is not only in Delhi. When I went to Netherlands for my postdoc at ITC Netherlands, there also, when I went, the first question at that time, my daughter was in class 4th and my son was in class 5th. So a question that was asked me, how have you left your children behind? We thought India is, you know, backward. How have you left your children behind? You know, so that question is not only, it's not only here, it's everywhere, right? There also, if you start seeing the collecting data, there'll be more women who will be doing half day work. And, like we again do not have a lot of laws which protect our salaries, when the childcare leave, we have even like to match, USA is way behind us. And
Exactly.
another thing, and I want to say another little thing, the data which you said about NCRB and all that, even I think so, you are just in a right position, ma'am. I always say that. Like, you should just force it there, definition of a rape. In case if a rape becomes a murder, Nirbhaya case or Jyoti, now she's known as Jyoti. Jyoti's data is not in the rape victims because that became a murder. So her data came in the degree of murder. And then we also have a data of the gang rape. I mean, it's mystery. Anyway, all of you, carry on.
Now I request the participants to come forward with their questions and proceed towards the interactive session. Anyone? Anyone wants to ask any question?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I'm Sunanda Trivedi, speaking from ISRO. My suggestion wise or idea is that these things are very good. Lecture was very nice, everything. I am also in favor of that. But the ladies who are at the senior post, they should take it properly at the time when the certain rules and norms have been defined. Now that is the stage where we have that. Earlier what was there, ladies were not at the senior levels, so our voice was not heard. Now since our voice are there everywhere at different posts and different cadres and all those, so when the norms are formed or any new rules are made, that time we should be serious about considering the female concept. Like she brought out very nicely that for making PPE kit, it was not planned that whether the female will wear that. But so that point should be raised from our point, and still things will be better in India. And much more improvement even in from my time, from college days to now, a lot of things have improved, and we should look the positive things also. But yes, still keep the way to have still more liberation and keeping the mind open. So we only have to say and see that the things are kept in that form. Thank you.
Thank you,
You're
ma'am.
right. You're right, Sunanda. I think so. We all the ones who are in that phase, we should all do that. At least we should say that we should keep women in our committees.
Yeah.
And do you know something, Sunanda? Now, what is happening is because of those sexual harassment bill and the other things, many times men says, let's not have women in the committees.
Yeah. And
so that again,
they are also taking the care that very smart lady we don't want. She'll raise her head. So we have to also see as a female that such ladies should be made ahead, that okay, they should take up the lead. They are there to do, but there are some people who don't allow them to be in that category. So we have to keep on fighting, at the same time appreciate the positive things also. We should not just look for the fight and all that. It's not like that. Both genders are important in life, and they should understand each other and respect each other. That is the main thing. Thank you.
Yes, you are right, Sunanda ma'am, 100% right. So we have to fight.
Anyone else who wants to ask any question?
May I ask a question? This is Sonali.
Sure, ma'am.
Ma'am, firstly, I would like to congratulate you for this huge work and your vast and various ground reality-based experience that you have shared with us. We are really obliged. Ma'am, in our project, Women Empowerment, what we have basically faced a lot, that is the data validation and proximity to reality. Because even if we are considering a question of unquoted criteria, that maybe that it really differs in a it's request guidance, how should
Sonali, you are not
data visualization. Hello. Yes, ma'am. If I'm not audible,
now it's okay. You are not.
ma'am, what I would like to ask that there is a difference between reported crime and the section of crime which is not even reported and not even thinking, thought like that way that it should be, the voice should be raised. So if we like to point out where the problem lies, if we need to assist the decision maker in a correct way, the data, realistic data and the data just visualizing the ground reality is required. So how a geographer can pursue their research towards this kind of analytical aspects, overcoming the challenges of data availability, which is basically exhibiting the ground reality.
Anybody else? Yes, Sonali. Of course, first of all, I want to thank you. You are thanking me. Your hand holding and you're helping us with your visualization skill is something which I want to share with all of you. And it's wonderful. But yes, data is an issue. Data is definitely an issue. And it's so difficult if you want to collect a micro level. So I think so for our projects, especially for the government projects also, like, whenever I work, say in case if I work for United Nations project and I work for a government project and I work for a WHO project. In two other projects, in United Nations project and in WHO project, I get a free hand on collecting data. Of course, with approval from the experts, with a lot of checkings and a lot of vetting of the questionnaire, and we can do it. And that's something which one is trying to do and invade in this project also. Because in case if I'm having all my polls now there where I've got people who are collecting data for one project, then they can also invade to collect data. This can only be done in case if say we are having a one-stop center and we are collecting data on that, then we have to get going deeper into the files. Which cases are reported? Are women coming with an impact on their faces of violence, or are women coming on being told by somebody? Sometimes it can go the other way around also. And so we need to do, yes, data is an issue. Data is a big issue. But today, luckily, we have tools. We have to learn, we have to form tools to filter that data, whether it's correct or it's not correct. We have something called crowdsourcing. We have something we can make use of, we can collect data through that. But can we use it for our work or can we not use it for our work? For me, that is a question. Soon I'll be sharing with Tapti ma'am my big form on the gender and violence which I made. And where in case with her permission, and I think so that she'll be able to convince others that let us collect that questionnaire from people who are being, who are suffering from violence. If the data is showing, if my United Nations data is showing, my NCRB data is showing that 1 in 3 women are the ones who suffer. If that is the case, why can't I collect data from that 1 in 3 women? At least not, let's find a way of sampling. Let's find ways of our own ways, and let's not limit ourselves to one set of data. But yes, I totally agree. And sometimes, there's another serious issue, which I'm more worried about when we make few projects. You would have always seen the big presentations in the big conferences, and with the GIS, which you are so well equipped, in which a lot of you, the ones who are there, the ones we are using the GIS tool to give color to a map, to change the pattern of a map. This state can look very high and this state can look bad. We also should promise ourselves that we'll be ethical in using this technology for visualizing the region. That is something which we all can tell ourselves to be ethical with our tools. It's not that if we want this state to look very nice, we change our legend. We should not do that. That's another thing. Okay, carry on.
Anyone else who wants to interact?
Hello, ma'am. I'm Sujata.
Yes, hello.
How are you, ma'am?
Absolutely
So,
fine.
thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I have one question. How can we get over gender? How can we get? Hello.
Yeah, yeah,
Am I audible?
yeah.
Yes, you are now.
Okay. So how can we get over with the gender stereotype?
I think so. What you're asking is that how can we go away with the gender stereotype? Is that it?
Yes, ma'am. We heard that.
Oh, I think so. We all are doing it. Imagine your Tapti ma'am is at the top position today. That is winning the glass ceiling. You have more women in your anatomo. That is you're going away from the gender stereotype. I am speaking like this in a forum, in a public forum, which is recorded like this. This is changing the stereotype. Sunanda ma'am just now asked a question. All right, now we are there. Let's change the policies. We are changing the gender stereotype. But the idea is not few. We want more people to get along this. And gender stereotype, it's a mindset, darling. We all have to go ahead. We all have to work towards it. We have to start from home. As we saw, we have to change. We have to tell our son and daughter, both of you are just same. And that's what I think so is happening. And in case if husbands are not, husbands are what, we have to, find cases like Chetan Bhagat. Chetan Bhagat is writing a novel at home where the wife is working in the corporate world. So that's changing the stereotype. So we all have to get together, but that will start in case if our kitchen spaces, our economic spaces, our demographic spaces. When I say that, sex ratio will show me something else. And my itcha would be something else. If my norms, my traditions and all will do it all together. But gender stereotype is happening. It's changing. That changing is happening. I'm having my shot here. That's okay. And you all are accepting me. So that's what the stereotype, so that is changing. Yeah. But yes, we need to expedite that speed. We need to work more towards it. First of all, we all have to realize that it exists. Many of us do not think that it exists. That's what it is. But a very good question. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Anyone else who wants to interact? Okay, so it was a very nice. Okay, there's a question. Okay.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I would like to know that in the present pandemic situation, we are observing that the percentage of dropout from the school is increasing day by day, and some of the girls are forced to get married. It is happening especially in the remote areas, village area, and in the poor families. How to overcome this situation?
See, first of all, I would like to say that none of us, nobody had ever thought of reverse migration also. To add to that, we are having the cases where the reverse migration also has taken place. And then we are having all these issues. Girls, we all, you are saying, you are talking about the rural or some vulnerable society. I'm saying that is also happening. That is also happening in urban setup. People are feeling insecure. And in that situation, again, you and me, Rita, and all of us, the ones out here, we have to find ways. We have to find ways in case if in my neighborhood, I feel very sad. Earlier, my maid who was there. Now we are not having maids at home also. In case if we are having maids, they were at least working hard to put their child in a school. That English medium school, whether that was an English medium school or not, but in a city, at least you could find teachers. But so this reverse migration, what has happened is they've gone back to their village in UP or Bihar or different places. There, the data is showing, the recent studies are showing the sixth class student, they would have got a promotion to sixth class or a fourth class, but they are not even able to read. Boys and girls both. Coming to girls, we all know it. In case if there's a big laddu at home, who would be given that big laddu? There's one laddu and you have 5 children. Who would be given that big laddu? We all know it. In case if there's a desi ghee for a parantha, and a dalda also there, but that desi ghee can only be there just for one parantha, then we'll say let it be a boy's parantha or a husband's parantha, and let that ghee be there for that and not for women. We all know it, but I'm very happy that this sensitivity is coming and we're talking about it. Now, yes, we have adopted villages. We have case studies like that. Chhattisgarh, Bihar, wherever we've got reverse migration. On the other day, I was speaking in a seminar on migration, and I realized situation is grim. People are not even able to recognize in our migrant policy that is there. We do not have a space for women. There's not even one sentence mentioned for that, because people felt in case if we ever had that, it would only be men. But out here, we all have memories of girls, women walking with without chappals and with a child holding child and all that. So I think so that yes, we all have gone back. We all have done our reverse, like wherever we have progressed. We all have to. It's a sorry state, but let's adopt 2 or 3 kids. Let's try to not adopt per se in bringing them home, but let us at least pay for their education. Let's at least tell people. But how many of us would leave this comfortable home setting? And for now, I think so. Let's all just pray that third wave would not be killing as the second wave was. Third wave has made all of us so insecure, and it has made more vulnerable people more insecure. They're not having roti. They're not earning. Economics have gone. Economic packages that are coming home is just very grim. That situation is becoming grim and grimmer. But yeah, still we have hope. Still we have that, we have some programs and we have a government who's trying to help the society. Let's hope that would be there. But yes, we have miles and miles and miles and miles to even visualize in our mind that we'll be able to bring that change. Yeah. Thank you.
To continue with this Rita's question, I just want to add one thing that I sometimes feel that we are responsible for that, for this drop down rate is high, because when that COVID started, most of us we are not allowing our maid to come to our home, to enter our home. In spite, some of us we can allow them to stay, or we could make some arrangement for their entering, for substituting them by paying something for the education of their children, but we could not do. Some of them have done, of course. Some are obviously they are caring for their children. If we are we should take care for that education. If not directly, I think indirectly, if we raise our or extend our hand or extend our opportunities to them, I think the drop down rate could be reduced.
Thank you. We had an excellent interactive session, and we have successfully come to the end of this session. I convey our sincere thanks towards our respected director, Madam Dr. Taupati Banerjee, for providing us this platform to interact and share our knowledge with each other. I would express our gratitude towards Dr. Seema Parihar ma'am for sparing us her valuable time. I thank all the dignitaries, NACMO officers and staff members for making this event successful. And last but not the least, I would like to thank DST Government of India for their continuous support. Thank you so much. We will meet again very soon in the next webinar. Now I request everyone to stand up for the national anthem.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधिधरा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे